opinions expressed on Xplorers Secrets of the Truth or that of their guests or contributors are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent. All information on Xplorers Secrets of the Truth is provided in good faith. However, we make no representation or warranty of any kind, express or implied, regarding the accuracy, adequacy, validity, reliability, availability, or completeness of any information on this talk show or website.
From monsters and ghosts to otherworldly beings, join the Explorers as they venture into the darkest realms, seeking the truth to what goes bump in the night.
Welcome back, Truth Seekers, to Explorers Seekers of the Truth. This is episode 91, Voices in the Night. Long John Nebel and Art Bell, the golden age of paranormal radio.
That is a title, my friend. Now, you've been waiting quite a while for this one, though, haven't you?
Oh, absolutely. This one's, near and dear to my heart. I am Chad, of course, your resident insomniac and paranormal radio historian.
And I am Les, the guy who only really tunes in when the static turns weird and someone mentions Bigfoot or aliens. I guess I'm the fringe fan here, right?
Mm-hmm. So tonight we're going to dive into the world of the late night airwaves and talk radio that dared to ask what's really out there.
Yes, we're talking about Long John Nebel and Art Bell, two kings of the mic who have kind of gave voice to ufologists, ghost hunters, conspiracy theorists, and even a few honest-to-God scientists.
Mm-hmm. And without them, the paranormal world would have stayed in the shadows. So grab your coffee or maybe some truck stop diner eggs, and let's crank the dial back to 1950. But first, Les, tell everybody where they can find us.
That's right. You can find us on Facebook or YouTube Live every other Tuesday. We do a pre-recorded show every other Saturday, which this last one was on Sunday because I can't keep to a schedule. Clearly, we're an hour late tonight. So when you're watching us on Facebook, give us a follow. If you're watching on YouTube, like, subscribe. We are on all the major podcast providers. So while you're out there, all we ask is you give us a 5-star review. We'd greatly appreciate it. You can find us on our website at Explorers Group. We're on Twitter or X at Explorers Group as well. And I do see Cindy is saying howdy from YouTube. Good to see you, Cindy. Thank you for tuning in as always.
Yes, and now back to the regularly scheduled program.
That's right.
So, Long John Nebel, his real name was John Zimmerman, and he got his start in 1954 on WOR in New York. Before Art Bell, there was the Long John Nebel Show. And this guy was like absolutely fearless.
Well, didn't he start by talking about like flying saucers, psychic powers, and lost civilizations, like nightly?
Every night.
Yeah.
From midnight to like 5:30 in the morning was his show. And he wasn't just doing it for shock value. He generally wanted to hear these stories. He had this very calm, gravelly voice that made the unbelievable seem possible.
Right. It was like Welcome to the Twilight Zone, but like real people were calling in from Jersey talking about how they'd been abducted and so on. And can you imagine doing a show from like dusk till dawn? I mean, I know we stretched out some of our shows, but my God.
Yeah. And, you got to figure probably at least 20 minutes of every hour is commercial breaks. Maybe not back then.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, he was doing shows where, I mean, he'd have 4 or 5 guests on in studio having like a round table panel discussion on stuff. So, I mean, his show was unique for its time.
how amazing would that have been? Like, that's why we need to get a studio of our own where we're together, where we could bring people in like that and have like an all-nighter. That'd be like a dream come true.
Oh yeah. Now he interviewed people like George Amotsky, who claimed to have met the Venetians,
Nice.
and Frank Edwards, the journalist turned paranormal advocate. And he was early in giving airtime to even things like the ancient astronaut theory before it became a meme.
Before the guy with the crazy hair on Ancient
Yeah.
Aliens, right?
Yeah.
Well, didn't that dude though? Didn't he marry Candy Jones, who had that whole like MK Ultra mind control backstory?
Yes. Candy was she was at one time back in World War II. She was in the top 10 pinup models.
Nice.
In the US, and she was also a radio personality then after that, but she was, I think she did some acting also. And under hypnosis, she had alleged and revealed that she was a CIA sleeper agent.
What's a sleeper agent?
It's basically where they would implant this set of skills or this like thing for you to do, but until it's triggered, you just carry on your normal life.
Huh. Is that like Black Widow in the Marvel things?
Yeah, kind of the root of what her character is. Yes.
Okay.
But think about like if you got hypnotized to cluck like a chicken every time you hear a doorbell.
Okay.
So they would give you this command of, hey, when you hear the doorbell, you cluck like a chicken. So in this case, they would be like, well, when you hear a doorbell, you go shoot somebody, this specific person. And then, they would eventually, the thought process was they would call a phone, ring a doorbell on the phone, and it would trigger this, predetermined operation for you. And then you would go and carry it out.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Now, did he talk about this stuff?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he actually aired her hypnosis sessions on his show. She was actually his co-host for a lot of the time.
Dude, that's insane. So he's like this. He's kind of like the OG of fringe content, right?
Oh, 100%. He created the blueprint basically for every show that followed, from podcasting to any of the syndicated radio shows with the long form interviews, strange topics, and the way he handled the topics.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't somebody who, dismissed people like you were saying about people calling from New Jersey that had been abducted.
Yeah.
He didn't dismiss them as, oh, you're crazy, you're a lunatic, you're some kind of weirdo.
Or brought him on to make a dick out of him.
Yeah, he brought them in and let them tell their story.
Mm-hmm.
And he did it with this very respectful tone. And even if he didn't agree with something, I've listened to several of his shows, and where they were doing like a round panel. I think Carl Sagan was one of the panelists on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And the one guy made a statement, and he kind of went into the conversation with the guy and was like nicely walking him back on what he said,
mm-hmm.
and kind of getting him to clarify stuff without attacking him. So it was it's a 4-hour roundtable discussion on UFOs. And you have Carl Sagan, who's a scientist, and a guy who was, I forget who the other guy was, but he was a early ufologist and all that. And
mm-hmm.
Basically they just went back and forth, and it wasn't an argument. It wasn't fighting. It wasn't bickering. It was, you're saying this, but I have this here to counter that.
Yeah.
What can you say about this? And they went back and forth, and he moderated it so well that even if the two guys hated each other by the end of it,
mm-hmm.
they were completely calm and thankful for the opportunity to have been on the show.
Which is a rare skill.
Oh, yeah.
To be able to do that,
Yeah.
Well, let's fast forward to the 1990s, right? And here comes Art Bell, broadcasting out of Pahrump, Nevada, surrounded by desert and what is it?
Pahrump.
Pahrump.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pahrump. Yeah, surrounded by desert and silence.
Well, one of the coolest things is Pahrump is just outside of Area 51.
That was going to be one of my questions.
Yes. Pahrump is one of the bus. Years ago, they used to bus people that worked in Area 51 from Pahrump.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's one of the cool things about Pahrump. And Art, you know, he started with, you know, a political talk show that turned into the Coast to Coast AM legend. He's, you know, started with politics, science, and then he veered very hard into the paranormal, from ghost, aliens, time travel, shadow people, you name it.
Well, in his voice had this like hypnotic calm, like he could talk about nuclear annihilation one minute and then go right into remote viewing the next.
And guess wise, I mean, you got to think about it. Like, he was the first syndicated radio platform to give people like Bob Lazar, who claimed to work on recovered alien spacecrafts at Area 51, airtime. I mean, he basically took a small time news report from the Las Vegas like ABC affiliate and knew the news guy well enough to say, hey, what do you think about coming on the show and talking about this? And he's like, not only will I come on, but I will get you Bob Lazar to come on.
Nice.
And you got to think about this. This goes from a, you know, like little maybe 10-minute, 20-minute news segment over a course of a week to a 3-hour long interview that, you know, if you take any of even the modern interviews up until recent years with Bob Lazar and you listen to the story from back in the 90s to his stories in whatever, you know, the latest documentary you've seen him in, the story is the same.
Right.
So like either this guy's been telling this story for 30-some years without variation, or, you know, Art was willing to give him the time and put him out there, and the guy just told the truth.
Right.
And then you had people like Richard C. Hoagland. Richard C. Hoagland, to me, his most famous claim in any of the coast to coast AM realm is he was the guy that saw the face on Mars.
Oh, that one where it's like a open mouth face kind of pareidolia kind of thing.
Yeah, and I mean, if you've ever listened to any of his interviews with Art, he was seeing, you know, buildings. He was seeing, you know, a rail launcher. He was seeing all these crazy things on you know, Mars.
Well, speaking of seeing things on Mars, did you see recently there was like that horse cat looking thing that they saw? Like it was like this long kind of quadrupedal, but like with these little two nubby arms in the front, big long whip tail, that supposedly they caught a creature running. But when you saw, like they did an embellished illustration of what they thought the creature looked like, and it was very much out of a sci-fi alien movie. But then when you actually saw the image that they're putting up in question, it looks like shadows on a rock.
Yeah.
That's not the same guy, is it?
I don't know. I don't know the thing that you're referring to. I may have seen it in passing.
Yeah.
But I think Richard C. Hoagland started everybody down this path of finding stuff on Mars. Right.
So now everybody's looking at
They see, you know, a rock that slid, and it's definitely the signs of some kind of, you know, movement by an animal, or
Yeah.
all the rocks look the same on Mars as they do in the deserts here in America, and it's like, well, they're rocks. They're really not going to look that much different elsewhere. They're still rocks.
Oh, look at those rocks. The ones that like move on their own, and that like
Mhm.
it's somewhere in the Southwest, isn't it? It's in America.
It's in the Americas. I don't know if it's in America
Maybe it's in
itself.
South America, yeah,
Yeah.
where there's the big ass rocks that just slide, and there's like long slide trails, but nobody sees how they move. And
Yeah.
it's probably the same thing up on Mars. You get a little bit of condensation or something underneath the rock, and you get a little bit of wind, and it slides. And
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, there's natural explanations to a lot of that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And even with the face on Mars, he's talking about an image from like, a camera that was outdated by the time the pictures got here, was outdated by 7 or 8 generations of cameras that we had, here on
True.
Earth. So it's pareidolia. If you look hard enough at, the one time I shared that photo of post battle at the wilderness the second time around, and if you look at this one tree branch, it looks like a Sasquatch or Yeti type head.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it's just the way the tree branches intersect, and if you stare at it long enough, that's your brain will make it into something.
Right, exactly.
But other guests that were pretty popular on Art when Art was hosting the show was Father Malachi Martin.
Hmm.
Now, he was an exorcist who claims demons were real and even active in the Vatican.
Well, don't forget the Area 51 caller. That you remember that frantic guy who claimed the government was hunting him down live on air, and then the
Mhm.
satellite the feed cut out like mid call.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was definitely one of the defining moments of the show.
Hmm.
Art didn't laugh it off. He kind of left that mystery breathe, and he gave everyone, no matter how strange it was, a chance to speak.
Hmm.
Now, I will say before we get into the,
Hmm.
go any further, things like the Malachi Martin interviews.
Uh-huh.
I mean, they were selling them at one point.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were selling the collection, and I mean, I think it was up to like 13 hours
Holy crap.
of interviews. And now these were all like on air, and some stuff that was added like here or there in like personal correspondence. But at one point they were like 13 hours. And this is the thing too. Back during the heyday of Coast to Coast AM, before the, download a podcast, download an episode, people were actually writing to Art to get copies of the show. Like they were selling, and selling certain interviews, and even just offering basic recordings like on tape of that whatever date you want it show.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean,
I wish we had that. I mean, aside from Cindy and OS, nobody cares about us.
half the time I don't care about us.
Sad. Well, don't forget his Ghost to Ghost AM Halloween specials. I mean, those things were pure gold.
Yeah, listeners calling in with like real ghost stories, told in the dark. They were raw, unedited. It was the communal campfire, and one of the like most interesting things there is he would ask questions but never question the authenticity.
Yeah,
he would ask questions basically to build the suspense or the drama of what was the story was, but he was never trying to disprove anybody.
mm-hmm.
And I mean, his, we're talking more in the Coast to Coast era, but I mean, he went from Ghost to Ghost AM, and then the different iterations of his shows over the years. He always had that Halloween special.
Yeah. We tried our hand at it.
Yeah, and somebody's never available to do the show then. So,
No.
I mean, me personally, I think every Halloween there should be a show.
I know, but I got to take the kids out. We'll do it. We'll do it this year.
We're doing a show at 9:30.
Yeah, I know. We'll do it this year. It'll be a late one. It'll be after the street lights go out. Halloween show.
Yeah.
Or after the porch lights go out, because isn't it like if the porch lights are on, you can still go to the house and get candy? So when the porch lights are off, the show goes on.
I don't know. I live in a town where I live on the busiest Halloween street, except for the traffic stops 1 block from my house. I get candy every year for these kids. And every year I sit here and nobody comes.
Yeah.
And I can hear them coming up the road, and they stop like a block away, and that's it. So I plan on doing like a little display with a sign that says, if you want candy, come here on Halloween night.
That's good. That's good. Cindy has a great point. She said, do the day before a Halloween show. So we'll do an All Hallows Eve show. And then that way I don't have to worry about rushing around Halloween night.
I was going to say, are you going to be allowed to?
I don't know. I never know what I'm allowed to do until I'm told. But back to the topic. So here's what kind of blows my mind with the Coast to Coast AM and Art Bell's show is it wasn't like this was like some sort of a niche thing. I mean, this Coast to Coast AM reached millions of people.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It was the most syndicated overnight radio show in North America.
Right.
It's still, I believe it is still in the top 3.
I would believe that.
Now, and it's in the top 3 and has lost market share to other programs. But it's still such a powerhouse.
High.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, they have, several different hosts on it now. George Norrie being the main one. He is not a fan favorite with people who are Art Bell Coast to Coast heads.
Yeah.
Like there are, I mean, I'm a member of several of the Art Bell Coast to Coast pages on Facebook, and everybody refers to George Snorri.
Yeah. Well, that's funny that you say that, because I was listening to one of George's one of the Norrie shows, and his voice does kind of like makes you fizzle out and kind of nod off.
Yeah.
And even Cindy says that the shows aren't as good as they used to be.
No, and one of the things is I feel, being somebody that is very into radio and kind of the history of radio and all that.
Well, you've worked in radio forever.
Yeah. When Art was there, the show was about the topic, the guest, when the different iterations of it over the years of Coast to Coast, it has steadily become an infomercial. And hey, I don't begrudge anybody trying to make money, but I mean, at one point, George Norrie owned part of a company that was a paranormal dating service that advertised on Coast to Coast A.
That's kind of lame.
You get several of these mineral, vitamin, vegemin salespeople doing interviews on the show. Now, some of it, very informative, very, understanding, natural remedies and stuff like that. But that's become like a normal topic.
Yeah.
Where UFOs and Bigfoot and stuff like that has been kind of secondaried, and it's truly starting to become a Coast to Coast AM infomercial.
Yeah, that sucks. Because to your point, like the natural herbal remedy kind of things, that's not the taboo anymore. That's not like the witch doctor shit anymore. That's what most people are turning to anymore, because they don't want poison in their body,
Yeah.
But Coast to Coast was renowned for the Stranger Things.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
And think about like who the audience was of Coast to Coast.
people like
You know,
us.
people like us, truck drivers, night shift workers, your general insomniacs who can't sleep, and your conspiracy theorists, your people that were into UFOs, your people that were into ghosts and Bigfoot and Loch Ness Monster and all the different cryptids and fringe topics.
Mhm.
All these people would tune in, and even if it wasn't a topic that you were super interested in,
Mhm.
because art gave this person airtime, you tuned in.
Right, right.
You know,
Well, not only that, but it also became a big part of pop culture. I mean, it was referenced on what, the X-Files, Stranger Things, I believe, had mentioned South Park. Freaking South Park even talked about Coast to Coast.
mhm. Well, and you also got to think, like Stranger Things.
Mhm.
The only reason Stranger Things exists is because of Art Bell.
Yeah, yeah.
He had
Makes
on
sense.
Al Bueller, Preston Nichols,
Mhm.
the Montauk Experiments.
Mhm.
What is
That's
Stranger
the whole
Things?
thing.
Yeah, exactly. Stranger Things is basically telling Preston Nichols, Al Bueller, Duncan Cameron, it's telling their stories
Yeah,
with fictional characters.
right.
You know, so I mean, if you're a fan of Stranger Things, you should probably be a fan of Art Bell's.
Right, right.
And Art made it okay to talk about what scared you also.
Yeah,
We're fascinating in that sense. In the dark, he made people feel heard in a lot of ways when the mainstream was like dismissing them.
yeah, yeah.
And that's
Well,
one thing
go ahead.
John Nebel also did.
Yeah,
Was
well, he started the ball rolling, really. I mean, no matter how fringe or wild the guest, I mean, both of them really gave airtime without, any immediate judgment.
yeah, exactly. There's a kind of kindness in that, and curiosity over cynicism, and that's really powerful. One of the things that, like, I was watching this evening, that's Sam and Colby.
Yes.
Not a huge fan. I've seen clips that you've sent me and stuff over the time they've been doing their little thing and all that.
Yeah.
But they have a 2-part like documentary. It was called like 100 Hours in the Exclusion Zone of Chernobyl.
Mhm.
Now, one of the things I got to give those kids was, when they screwed up something when they were talking on film, they put an overlay on it that corrected that information.
Yeah, yeah.
They had no concept about the Cold War or Soviet Russia or America during the time of Chernobyl, but they were born 10 years after Chernobyl happened. They were
Yeah.
born 3 or so years after communism, even like Russia, the USSR fell.
Yeah.
So these kids really didn't grow up with what we all grew up with.
Right.
But they showed great kindness in dealing with the people and learning from the people, being the social media influencer kids, when they went to meet with the grandmas and they were all basically crying
Yeah.
because of how this woman, how these, not just that woman touched something in their heart, this, thing, and their curiosity, like asking her questions. And, I said to my wife while we were watching, I said, the one boy is like sitting there looking her right in the eyes, asking her a question. I said, he has to be dumb. She does not speak English. She has no clue what the words coming out of his mouth mean, but to make the eye contact like that, to have an emotional response. And it wasn't one of these fake, we're going to have this little emotional moment, set it up and he'll walk into the, no, they were having a powerful response to meeting these people. Now, these people, like the grandma was in her 80s, these are 24-year-old kids when they filmed this.
Yeah.
And one of the things that touched them was like the one one guy that they met that had actually worked on the reclaiming projects at Chernobyl.
Yeah.
He said to them, I was 24, I had a girlfriend and a child, and it clicked in their head like he was our age when he basically selflessly said, I'm going to do this for the betterment of the world, not for money. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to do this to help everyone.
Yeah.
So I think people like Long John Nebel, Art Bell, they gave a voice to the marginalized. I mean, you got to realize, like, Long John Nebel interviewed Malcolm X
Oh.
on his show. Like, these were people, Art Bell giving people like Bob Lazar a platform, John Lear a platform. I mean, pretty much take, like I said, Stranger Things.
Yep.
Take Skinwalker Ranch, Beyond Skinwalker Ranch, the Blind Frog Ranch. All these things, the only reason they are known by Americans or the world in general is because Art Bell put people like Robert Bigelow on the air.
Right.
And interviewed him about Skinwalker Ranch and what it is. And followed up with them over the years. Because you got to realize, like, Art was doing this from like 93 until he died in 2018-ish. So, you have all these things that we all sit back and watch and enjoy and read about and follow on Facebook and look up on YouTube and buy books about, because of, Long John Nebel started the ball rolling, showed that you could do a show in the middle of the night about the creepy things that most people would not want to talk about in the middle of the night and get an audience.
Yeah.
Art Bell then realized one night he started talking about UFOs and, went from a Las Vegas overnight show talking politics and science to one night just talking science and UFOs.
Yeah.
And went from a couple of phone calls an hour to the lines where you'd hang up on one person, the line would already be rung for the next person.
Right. Right.
So all these things that we have are really, really, we owe, even like what we're doing right now, we owe to Art Bell.
Yeah.
I mean, Art Bell was doing internet radio when internet radio was the absolute worst, possible outlet. He was doing his show with an internet component and like in studio webcam. Like this was also, you got to realize, like, that man did his show from his own home in Pahrump. He didn't go to Vegas to a studio. He had a studio at his own house with the satellites and all to beam it out to his premier network that then beamed the signal to other stations.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah. Art Bell, Long John Nebel, these are like
legends.
Legends, and everybody that does this stuff really, they may have never listened to them, but they owe them what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. So speaking of, let's hit some of the greatest hits. Like, who were some of your favorite interviews?
Well, you got to go with the big ones, right? And you have like Bob Lazar with his alleged alien tech at S4 near Area 51.
Yeah, that was a great one.
You have people like Linda Moulton Howe talking about animal mutilations and alien documents. And she is actually, or I don't know if she's from Pennsylvania, but I know she lived in PA for a long time down towards Philly.
Oh.
Like King of Prussia area. Whitley Strieber, the author of Communion, recounting his abduction experiences.
Speaking of,
And
he has a shock doc I was telling you about before. You can find it on HBO Max. Just search Whitley Strieber's name. I'm telling you that document film or shock doc, whatever the hell you want to call it, well worth the watch.
and then you have like the time traveler John Titor, calls that spread all over the early forum. Also, some of the other ones that I really thinking about, he had like Buddy Brewer on Shadow of the Sentinel, which was about the Knights of the Golden Circle, which was a Civil War conspiracy. He had John Keel on.
We just talked about.
Yeah. He had, oh God. I mean, you name it. I think he had Meldrum on at one point, like getting into the Bigfoot stuff.
I'm sure.
He had a great phone call from back in the early, maybe 2000s, Bugs or something like that, the guy's name was, who claimed to have shot 2 Bigfoot in Texas back in the 70s. To the point where he drew a map and sent it to Art and said, Art, do with it what you want after I die. They sent notice to Art that he died, and here Art had a map, allegedly, to the bodies remains of 2 Bigfoot, and he burnt the map.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, he burnt the map. It was Bugs, I think was the guy's name. You can find all these on YouTube. That's one of the greatest things about YouTube and our modern era is
you can pretty much find all that.
You can find all those things. You
would have been lost.
Find millions of different versions of it. But
Alicia mentions William Fortune.
Oh my God, William Fortune wrote one of my favorite book series.
Oh yeah.
That's it's called, his first book was called 1 Second After. It's about an EMP attack on America.
Oh.
And it's like a post-apocalyptic like rebuilding of a country.
I think I remember you telling me about that.
Oh yeah, we've talked about it. I've ad nauseum talked about this book. It's basically a small town, North Carolina. And it's basically their story, and it's such a well-written and well-researched book. It was read into Congress when they were doing their sessions on America after, like, America attacked by an EMP. So it's been read into Congress as a minute-by-minute account of what would happen. It's also cited by most preppers and prepper sites as a good book to read to understand what will happen if something does happen where we would lose power or something like that.
That's wild.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many great authors and storytellers. And don't get me wrong, there were definitely planted stories.
Yeah.
Be it Art needing to jazz up ratings, like the whole Mel Hole story.
What's that?
Guy calls in, alleges that he found this bottomless pit on his property.
Oh, yeah. I remember.
It gets shared around every so often.
I shared a video with you about it and was asking you questions about it. And you're like, yeah, it's a bunch of baloney.
Yeah. So like there were times with that kind of stuff. I'm sure of it. Now, also, Art did interview a few people who later came out to say they were government misinformation agents. Now, again, if somebody's presenting themselves as a UFO abductee or a UFO contactee or a UFO researcher, and they got some popularity or, made the right connections, Art was going to interview them.
Yeah.
Now, years later, some of them, and here's the thing, some of them didn't know they were government misinformation agents until they realized the information they were being fed was false.
Yeah.
And I mean, even if you go into the modern day, you had people like Nick Redfern on there. You've had all these. Now that I don't think that was on Coast to Coast. That might have been on Dark Matter.
Mhm.
I mean, he interviewed Michio Kaku, the physicist. Like Michio Kaku's like first real big radio interviews were with Art Bell.
Really?
And then he went and did Opie and Anthony.
What a switch.
Well, Art Bell interviewed Joe Rogan.
Well, that I can understand because Rogan's, so involved with all things strange.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Rogan even points to Art Bell, besides Opie and Anthony, as some of the reasons why he's so into this stuff.
Mm. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned
That
John
time traveler.
Peter, the time traveler guy.
Yeah.
Didn't he say, because you said about the guy who gave Art the map,
Mhm.
so he was given that information, but the time travel guy said he was from 2036 and posted blueprints of his time machine, and that was like a whole internet ARG before those were a thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Art took him seriously enough to let him ride for multiple segments.
Like, well, Long John had big names too, though, like Isaac. God, I'm going to butcher that name.
Asimov.
Asimov, Carl Sagan, L. Ron Hubbard once. A wild range.
Mm-hmm. And these were long form interviews. These weren't these like 10-minute little like, hey, let's get a 10-minute presser in with you because you got a new book coming out. This was, hey, you got a new book coming out. How about you sit down for 3 hours or 2 hours or an hour even, and let's talk.
Yeah.
I mean, the some of the coolest things is, at least in my book, being a fan of all this kind of stuff, is we've interviewed some of the same people he did.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, like people will be like, my wife will always be like, oh, there's an episode with this person, and Linda Godfrey is one that she always like, oh, there's a Linda Godfrey episode. I'm like, oh, who interviewed her? And she'd be like, oh, it's the Art Bell one. I'm like, oh, yeah, I interviewed her too.
Yeah, she'd be like, you should be looking at the Xplorers Secrets of the Truth one, because we interviewed her. I think we coined her the queen, the Dogman Queen, and or the Queen of the Dogman. She's like, oh, please don't call me that.
Yeah, she was such a sweet lady.
God rest her soul. Yeah, she was. I would have loved to have talked to her again. She was such an awesome interview. We should, let's ask our listeners, or the two of them that are tuning in right now. Do you guys think we should get some more interviewees into the show? And if so, who would you like us to try and get in touch with an interview? So that's a question to the listeners.
Andy McGrath.
We've interviewed Andy multiple times, although I would not turn him down again.
Hold on a second. Andy has a television show. He's our friend. He's written several books since the last time we've talked to him.
Yeah, and he actually wrote
he wrote children's books.
The Yeti children's book, and I think he did a Nessie children's book too. Yeah, I want them.
He's done 2 children's books, another adult book, has a television show, and he's our friend.
Weird Britain, right?
Yeah, Weird Britain on Blaze TV.
We got to figure out how to get that into the States.
I would do a commercial for it, but I just remember it's on Blaze TV. That's all I remember in the name of the show.
Yeah, and supposedly if you have a
if
VPN,
you can watch it. Yeah.
Yeah, which I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
I work on computers every day, but I don't know how to do all that shit. So if anybody can figure it out, let me know, because I really want to watch Andy's shows, and we could definitely have him back on the show any day just to talk about, I don't give a crap what. He's just wonderful.
I just miss when he would be walking home from taking the train from work, and he would call me on FaceTime, and he'd show me the Thames River as we're talking.
That's awesome.
Yeah. He's a good guy.
Well, Cindy says anyone that talks about spooks, UFOs, Bigfoot, or weird things. Yes, that's what we're looking for. But get us some names, Cindy. Anybody that you find interesting in those subjects, let us know.
Yeah, because there's a lot of newer people out there that are, here's the thing. It's like all of us, we're all interested in this stuff, but it's like sometimes our scope of what we see, especially with social media and the way algorithms work, there may be super interesting, like Tom Seawood.
Yeah.
We got Tom Seawood kind of early on in his talking about Bigfoot and Sasquatch or whatever he was calling them.
Yeah, because I messaged him about his artwork. Because he did those Native American drums and stuff like that. Yep. And he drew this one Bigfoot, and I loved it, and I wanted to buy it off him. We got talking, and he wanted to come on the show.
Yeah. So sometimes what I was saying, though, is like sometimes we don't necessarily always see those people. And if it's somebody that's interested in you guys, it's probably going to be interesting to us, too, to get on and kind of get to talk to and find out about. And, we're always, we've interviewed some of the bigger names, and I mean, there's a bunch we haven't interviewed, but, sometimes it's cool to kind of get that person, early on in their career or early on in their out there speaking, and kind of build that rapport with us, them, and you guys. So when we see them at events, we can say, hey, you said we're allowed to Lyle Blackburn, so we're allowed to say he's our friend.
Yeah, he gave us permission.
Yeah. I just pump Elvira every so often throughout the house just to, show my support for 3 million views on that video. And I think 2.9 million are me.
Yeah, that's right. Well, Mogwa Crone says Avi Loeb, who is an Israeli and American theoretical physicist who works on astrophysics and cosmology. So that's somebody that they want us to try. They may be too important to talk to us.
We'll try.
We could try. Yeah. I mean, it's a name. It's a name.
Yeah. Well, and the worst they can do is say no.
That's right.
We try.
Alicia says interview that Fortune guy. Fortune, the one you're talking about. The
I'll just drive down to North Carolina and have a conversation with him.
Yeah, but video it so we can put it on the show.
Nice.
It'll be our first webisode. Chad's live interview.
Yeah,
with that guy whose name I can't pronounce.
The whole interview will turn into the Chris Farley skit. Do you remember when you wrote?
That'd be funny as hell.
That's what it would turn into. I would just be asking him questions. Well, he also helped write Newt Gingrich's history and alternative history books that Newt Gingrich had written back there a while back. So he's definitely somebody I would be interested in talking to.
Well, you know what?
Civil War guy too.
That would be awesome. Yeah, that's right up your alley.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of Civil War, the girls said that you and your wife should move up to Gettysburg so you'd be closer.
We try.
Just
all the time.
That
was our original plan, was to live there.
I know. Gosh, we'd definitely be able to do the show live together. You'd only be like a couple hours away from me. You mentioned a name before, Nick Redfern. He's somebody I would really love to interview too, if we can get in touch with him. I have a bunch of his books. I think he is like a Bigfoot encyclopedia that I've actually used as reference material on some of our previous shows.
Yeah.
He seems really cool.
Yeah, he was, the last time I knew anything of him, he was living down towards Dallas area.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's pretty close to Lyle.
Yeah, he was that. Yeah, they were somewhere close by to each other. I know Lyle was somewhere outside of Dallas area, and he was in Dallas or maybe Austin area. But yeah, he's written a lot, and he's very. It's the British thing. He's very enjoyable to listen to.
Yeah.
Like the tone and all of his voice. So he would definitely be somebody I wouldn't mind having a conversation with. And he's written multiple books and it does like to get out there and research stuff. And he also does a deep dive in his research. He looks into the
it's not just your
stories.
standard stuff.
Yeah.
I tried to get Lauren Coleman on the show. I actually spoke to him personally when I was up in Maine, and I was fanboying. It's probably why I probably scared him away, because he's like, when I'm like, hey, you're Lauren Coleman. He's like, no, I'm not. I'm like, well, if you're not, you look just like him. And he's like, well, who are you? I'm like, Lauren Coleman's biggest fan. And then I fanboyed out on him. And then he's like, all right, well, my bookstore is over there. Nice meeting you. I was like, oh, come on, man.
The worst thing was, it was probably just some person that kind of looked like Lauren Coleman.
Oh no, it was him, 100%. It
was a Lauren Coleman body double. It was a Men in Black Lauren Coleman.
Right. No, he was awesome to talk to.
Yeah.
I would love to get him on the show, but I think we'd have to pay to get him on the show, and I don't have any extra money to pay for him.
Well, and here's the thing. As much as I'd love to talk to him on the show and have the thing of, we've interviewed Lauren Coleman. If you want a Lauren Coleman interview, and it's somebody you got to pay to interview, there's a million of them out there.
Yeah.
I will do the classic cafe. We will ask the questions and we'll insert his answers from the previous interviews in.
There you go. Yeah.
That's a radio thing, folks.
And that'll be a audio only interview.
Yeah.
We could probably, with AI now, we could probably just get a picture of him and just add the audio to it, and it'll mouth the image.
Don't even do that. Just cut lips out and just
that would be great.
Just do like the bad South Park animation with the lips move.
I'd make it even better, actually.
Make his head flap like a Canadian.
Oh god, that'd be funny. We should do that just to do it. But, all right, let's get back to it.
Okay, so let's look at like the aftermath and where we are now, right?
Yep.
So sadly, Art Bell passed away back in 2018. Coast to Coast has continued with George Norrie, as we said earlier.
Snorri.
It's still strong, but the vibe has definitely shifted. Like I was kind of pointing out to some of the, what some of the diehard Coast to Coast fans have moved away from it over the years.
Mm-hmm. OS just said, I'd like to see you guys do stories on the Civil War in Virginia too. So that's right up your alley, literally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would like to definitely, because of being like, 30 some minutes from Appomattox, 20 some minutes from Lynchburg, and like a little over an hour from Sailor's Creek.
You're right in the midst. Well, like Lynchburg, we were up in that Civil War thing, the cemetery, remember?
Yeah. Well, there's a battle there too.
Yeah.
The Battle of Lynchburg, Appomattox, Sailor's Creek was another battlefield. I would really like to get up to Lexington. There's a guy up there that does ghost tours in Lexington that I'd like to talk to. So he may be somebody we could get on the show.
Before the summer's out, and I agree, I think that'd be great to have him on the show, but before summer's out, I want to come down to your house, since I still have not been to your house since you moved into it.
Don't worry about it.
I want to come down. I want to come down. And I would like to go to the cemetery that we were at Lynchburg again and do either a live EVP session and like a whole thing, or just go down there and record and start that as one of our webisodes, because that's one of the things that Chad and I want to bring into the Xplorers Media Group thing is webisodes that we are actually on locations and film and do all that kind of stuff. But that's a work in progress. So back to the topic at hand, because I keep straying here. Art passed, Snorri took over, the vibe shifted. Would you say that podcasts kind of picked up the torch in a way since things have changed with the Coast to Coast?
I totally think podcasting really has taken over that the niche.
Yeah.
I mean, you got the guys from Australia, Mysterious Universe.
Yeah.
They
show.
do a great show. The Confessionals.
With Tony Merkel.
Yeah,
He does a great show.
Bits and pieces of his show I've caught over the years, but definitely a good show. Not to toot our own horn, but I'll toot our own horn. Even us.
Yeah.
There's a lineage here where you can draw that line from Noble to Bell to the Explorers.
True. Yeah,
I know. I said it.
It's yeah, no, right. And it's spooky though in the best way.
And even though the platforms have changed, the need for these conversations hasn't.
Right. Exactly.
People still want to talk about the weird, the unexplained, and maybe feel a little less alone by doing it.
Yeah. But so, what do these guys really give us?
A stage for the strange, permission to wonder about things, and a reminder that the world's not as small or even as well understood as we think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And for me, I guess it's about the late night vibe, the hum of static, the soft spoken guest, the sense of maybe tonight you'll hear, something that kind of changes your life,
Mm-hmm. Beautifully said.
Thank you.
I know I wrote it for
you. Well written, beautifully written.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely, there's a vibe to it.
Yes, absolutely.
Like I still listen to, yes, I'm horrible. I listen to 1950s radio serial detective shows and old Art Bell, Coast to Coast, Dark Matter, Midnight in the Desert, all his old programs. I mean, I've probably heard a majority of the interviews. Yeah. A majority of the interviews 10 or 13 times in the last year. Because my wife will just start reading a list of them and she'll be like, what about this one? I'll be like, we just listened to that 2 nights ago. And she's like, I fell asleep like 2 minutes into it. I'm like, yeah.
Sounds like my wife.
Yeah.
With every movie and show we watch.
Yeah. Well, I think we have paid tribute to 2 legends of the paranormal talk radio fields.
I would agree. I think for sure.
And I want to thank everyone for tuning in to Explorers, Seekers of the Truth, episode 91. If you've gotten a favorite Art Bell story or a Long John Nebel moment, drop us a message.
Yeah, or call us in the middle of the night using a scrambled signal and a voice modulator, because that won't be creepy, and we'll know it's you. We'll know it's you guys.
So we will be back in 2 weeks.
Yep.
Not at the same time.
Well,
So hopefully,
maybe
it could be 9:30, but we're hoping for 8:30.
Well,
but we will.
It was my fault today. I was celebrating my father-in-law's birthday with the family, and things took longer than I had anticipated. It was the pizza. She ordered it from the wrong restaurant. I had to run all the way across.
You better hope she's not listening.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll take my lumps.
I was gonna say it's a 6-hour drive to my house for you to sleep on the couch.
That's right. I'd do it. You think I'd pass up an opportunity for a road trip?
Yep. So again, we will be back in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Not hopefully at 8:30, but available on all of our normal channels with more stories that been reality.
That's right. And until then, keep your radios on and your minds open. Good night, everybody.
Good night.